Welcome to my next Lost. Season 3 episode review video. Before I get into that though, pretty important, if you aren't caught up to the point where I am, every once you're watching Lost, or you're just not entirely sure, then you definitely need to take the initiative and pay attention to the episode's title, which of course I'll mention as well as put in the description. If that happens to be the case, you find that you're not caught up, it would be my recommendation that you don't watch this detailed review any further to avoid any potential spoilers. And full disclosure, everyone, I've already seen Lost 3 different times. It's one of my all-time favorite shows, top 5 for sure. I want to rewatch this show to let things resonate and give you all detailed reviews of the show. However, I'm not the only one that's currently watching Lost. The legendary Crazy Coffee Man, who you see in my comment section for Dexter, Lucifer, and Breaking Bad videos, is actually watching Lost for the very first time. So, join us on the journey and let's discuss this awesome and amazing show. I don't want any spoilers past this episode just in case the legendary Crazy Coffee Man isn't caught up to where you talk about. So no spoilers past this episode. So with all that said, this will be Lost. Season 3, Episode 7. The title of this episode is called Not in Portland. And this will be my review reaction recap after just finishing watching the episode. So we start off with a flashback. Juliet is sitting on a beach. She's crying as the sun sets over the water. She heads inside a lit corridor and she passes Ethan, who says hello. Juliet finds inside a candlelit room. Juliet finds a woman sleeping. Using a zippered kit, she removes a syringe and fills it with a substance marked A4993-E3. The woman awakes and Juliet discusses treating her not because she is her doctor, but because she is her sister. And her name is Rachel, so she injects Rachel. Back to our current time, Jack uses the walkie to tell Kate to leave the island with Sawyer and contact him when she's safe with the story he told her when they first met. Kate and Sawyer attack and knock out Pickett and Jason, and Sawyer smashes Pickett's head against the food button. They lock the others inside the cages and escape. In surgery, Juliet calls Jack's bluff and instructs Ivan to get Pickett and recapture Austin and Ford, authorizing them to kill them if necessary. Back to our flashback, Juliet sneaks into the Miami Central University Medical Research Laboratory after hours. She gets a call from Diana regarding Dr. Burke's appointment to see Dr. Richard Alpert the following day. And then in the lab room, Juliet pockets several bottles of the medicine she previously used on her sister and is interrupted by a man and woman entering the room, flirting and caressing each other. Juliet hides, but her cell phone rings, giving her location away. And Edmund goes over to talk to her. And then Juliet makes up a story as to why she is there. And he introduces Sherry to Juliet, who is his ex-wife. So this is Juliet's ex-husband, Edmund. He asks Juliet to leave and smugly asks her to turn the lights off. Then back on the island, Juliet tells Jack that they can't escape because they are on a separate island. Jack is furious and tells Tom how Juliet has asked him to kill Ben in the episode The Cost of Living. Though she denies it, Tom orders Juliet to leave the surgery. While Ivan releases Pickett and Jason, Kate and Sawyer make it to the beach and call Jack to ask for help in getting a boat. Pickett and 2 others catch up, however, chasing them into the woods and destroying the walkie-talkie in the process. Sawyer runs out of ammo, and Kate is about to get shot by Jason when Alex shoots him with her slingshot and motions for Kate and Sawyer to follow her, and she brings them to a hole covered by a camouflage hatch while their pursuers run past them. Ben awakes and overhears Tom confronting Jack about Juliet's portrayal, and Ben asks that someone please get Juliet. Back to our flashback, Juliet studies generic data on her computer, but is interrupted by Sherry, who is being involved with, she's now a new research assistant. She asked Juliet to report to Dr. Edmund Burke immediately. And then in his office, Edmund Burke reveals that he is fully aware of what she's been doing and suspects that the patient is her sister. He wants to collaborate as her findings could change the face of medical science, making both of them rich. He points out that the alternative is ethical and even legal scrutiny. So he just wants to get rich off of this, where Juliet wants to help her sister with whatever she's dealing with. And then back to our present time, Tom gets Juliet, telling her that Ben's asking for her. And then Kate, Sawyer, and Alex leave their hiding place. Alex says there is no tunnel to the main island, but that she will take them to a boat if they help her rescue her boyfriend, Carl, who is being held prisoner somewhere on the island. Ben congratulates Jack on his ploy and asks to speak to Juliet alone. Tom officially introduces himself to Jack, and then Jack and Tom watch from the observation room, but cannot hear what Ben and Juliet are talking about. Tom says that Ben and Juliet have history. Juliet comes out, tears in her eyes, and asks Jack to finish the surgery. She will help his friends escape if he does that. Back to our flashback. Juliet attends her meeting with Richard Alpert from this bioscience place. He presents a slide show about their facilities in Portland, Oregon, in the hope of recruiting her as the head of the department. His pitch of independent funding and research freedom intrigues Juliet, who asks why they are interested in her, of all people. And Richard Alpert talks about Juliet's research, specifically the fact that she managed to impregnate a male field mouse. He clearly is impressed with her work. He asks her to examine a slide of a womb CT sequence. Juliet assesses that it is a human womb, and judging by the scan, most likely of a patient in their 70s. And Richard Alpert tells her that the woman is in fact just 26 years old, and that she could find out more if she worked with them. Then Juliet begins to cry, stating that her ex-husband, Dr. Edmund Burke, would never let her go, and short of him getting hit by a bus, she would be bound to him. Apologizing, she leaves, adding that she is not a leader, she's a mess, and that will come into play later. Juliet goes to the video surveillance room and sees Kate and Sawyer on one of the many monitors. She zooms in to find out that they are with Alex. Alex brings Sawyer and Kate to another part of the Hydra compound in the jungle, and then one of the others, Aldo, is sitting guard outside reading a Stephen Hawking's book, and Alex approaches claiming to have captured Kate and Sawyer. As they argue about her dad not wanting her to be there, Sawyer tackles him down and mocks him for falling for the old Wookiee prisoner gag. Kate threatens to shoot Aldo in the knee. She tells Sawyer it wasn't a con, so he reveals that Carl is at the end of the hall in room 23. Kate knocks him out, and they break into the room where Carl is strapped to a chair with an IV in his arm and LED glasses on his face. He's being forced to watch a video with strange flashing images, text, and sound. Sawyer is momentarily entranced by the video, but Kate snaps him out of it. They remove Carl from his chair, and Sawyer carries him out over his shoulder. Pickett and company find Aldo just as Juliet catches up with them after monitoring Sawyer and Kate's location from the Hydra video feeds. She tells Pickett about her new orders to let them leave, but Pickett encounters that Ben would rather die than let them go. Back to our flashback, Juliet tells her sister about the interview and her confusion as her experiment is a failure, but is shocked to learn that she has not failed it, as Rachel has discovered that she is pregnant. Rachel has the box and instructions for a Whitmore home pregnancy kit on the table, with the resolve that all she must do now is to get healthy again. Juliet says it worked, something that Juliet will say a few more times on Lost. Rachel and Juliet embrace and talk about confronting Edmund. The next day, back to our flashback. Juliet finds Edmund talking to his mother rudely on his cell phone outside the lab. She tells him that Rachel is pregnant, but refuses to allow collaboration and publication of her breakthrough with her sister. As Edmund argues, he carelessly steps out onto the street and is hit by a bus. Remember that Juliet mentioned that to Richard Alpert earlier. Jack continues the surgery. He asks Tom why they didn't take Ben off the island for surgery. Tom starts to say something about when the sky turned purple, but is interrupted when Jack accidentally snags an artery of Ben's. The fugitives load Carl onto Alex's small canoe. Sawyer comments on Alex being the boss's daughter, and she confirms this. Pickett arrives and is about to kill Sawyer when Juliet appears and shoots and kills Pickett several times in the chest. She shot him. And then the surgery is interrupted by Kate on the walkie-talkie informing Jack that they have a boat and are being let go by Juliet, or the blonde. Jack makes her tell him the story he told her when they first met. Kate tears up as she recounts how he conquered his fear when one of his early surgery patients was in jeopardy by continuing to doing the surgery. And the story focuses Jack, and he is able to stabilize Ben. He makes Kate promise never to come back for him, and Sawyer, Kate, and Carl reluctantly sail away in the canoe as Alex and Juliet watch on. Back to our flashback, Juliet goes to the morgue to identify Edmund's body and sign paperwork. The doctor leaves her alone and she cries. And then Juliet returns to the station and meets Jack in the observation room. He confirms he was able to remove the tumor. He asks what will happen now that he has removed the tumor for Ben, and Juliet says he'll go back to his cell until they figure out what to do with him. Jack demands to know what Ben said to make Juliet want to save his life. That after all they have put him through, he deserves that. And then back to our flashback, Juliet is interrupted by Richard Alpert and Ethan. She half recognizes Ethan, and she suddenly recalls her comment to Richard Alpert about Edmund being hit by the bus. Richard Alpert says he doesn't remember that, and Juliet must still be in shock. She cannot blame herself for that tragic accident. He knows about her sister's pregnancy because of their very thorough recruitment process and asks once more for Juliet to join their research just for 6 months. Juliet asks whether she can bring her sister, but Richard Alpert admits it may be difficult for her to get her treatment as such a remote facility, as it is in fact not quite in Portland. And then back to our current time, Juliet sadly tells Jack that she has been on the island for 3 years, 2 months, and 28 days, and Ben told her if she cooperated and he lived, he would finally let her go home, and Juliet becomes emotional and leaves the room, and that's what ends this episode of Lost. So good stuff here. Really solid Juliet episode. So obviously, first of all, my score, 9.0 out of 10. I thought this episode was really suspenseful. I'm going to give the character of the episode, no surprise, Juliet. Jack will be the secondary character of the episode, and obviously Sawyer and Kate were good, and even Alex, but Jack and Juliet. So you've heard everything that I have to say. Now it's your turn. If you're a fan of Lost and you want to help me out with the YouTube algorithm, please don't forget to Hulk smash the like button, share the video with a friend, put this video on any one of your social media platforms. Don't forget to sound off in the comment section about what your thoughts are on this episode of Lost. What would you rate the episode, and who would you choose as your characters of the episode? Remember, you'll be interacting with me and the legendary Crazy Coffee Man. However, no spoilers past this episode. And then last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button. You're watching this video anyway. Subscribe to the channel, join the team, show your damn support, and be a part of something special. And you never know what you're going to see on JDEV TV.